I'm a teacher of literature. I teach literature. I teach comparative literature. I teach post-colonial literature. And I've been getting messages from my students lately. In a way, remembering, I mean, even yesterday, I got a message from one of my students, remembering the novels that we studied together. I am a fan of the Palestinian writer, the late Palestinian novelist, freedom fighter, Ghassan Kanafani. And I'm also a fan of Edward Said and Mahmoud Darwish. And my students keep writing to me. My students who are still alive, because I've lost so many students, telling me that now they understand why I decided to teach these novels by Ghassan Kanafani, those poems by Mahmoud Darwish, the writings of Edward Said. In comparative literature, I used to teach, something was mentioned about literature from Senegal. I used to teach Simbeni Osmani's literature, and I remember very well. One of the short stories I chose to teach was Black Girl, comparing it to a story written by Ghassan Kanafani, The Land of Sad Oranges, which was about, Ghassan Kanafani's story was about the Nakba, the catastrophe that took place in 1948. So my students wrote to me saying, well, now we understand what the Nakba means. What we are going through right now in Gaza is far, far worse than what happened in 1948 with the establishment of the State of Israel. We paid an extremely heavy price in 1948. I am a refugee. My parents were refugees from the ethnically cleansed village of Zarnoura. When people hear about Gaza, people don't know the context. 2/3 of the Palestinians of Gaza are refugees, entitled to their right of return in accordance with the United Nations Resolution 194. My parents, both my parents, died in 2005. My father died in January 2005. My mother couldn't bear it, and she followed him in May 2005, having the key to their house, which they lived in 1948. And this is the reason why apartheid Israel decided to commit a horrendous genocide in Gaza, because Gazans remind Israel of the original sin committed in 1948. You cannot solve the Palestinian question without return of Palestinian refugees to the towns and villages from which they were ethnically cleansed. And this is why apartheid Israel decided in 2006 to impose a medieval, literally medieval siege on Gaza. Gaza has 7 crossings. All these crossings have been sealed since 2006. And I remember very well, there were times when we wanted to buy milk for our kids. We wanted to buy medicine for our kids, and we couldn't find medicine, we couldn't find milk, we couldn't find fuel for our cars, we didn't have electricity. And since 2006, and the world was okay with that. And as if that was not enough, apartheid Israel, genocidal Israel, decided to launch a massive war on Gaza in 2008 for 18 days, killing more than 1,400 people. We expected the international community to act, do something. Because more than 70% of those who were killed were children and women. But the world did not react. And that was the message apartheid Israel understood at the time, that it could come back, kill as many children as it wanted, and the world would do nothing. It did the same thing in 2012. I was there. I am a witness of the whole massacre. Did the same thing in 2014 for 51 days, killing more than 2,400 people, 70% of whom were children and women. And what was the reaction of the international community? Nothing. Nothing. I joined the Great March of Return in 2017 until 2020. We tried everything. Non-violence, BDS, civil disobedience. And what was the reaction of the international community? Indifference. Indifference. In fact, the colonial West blamed both sides, the colonizer and the colonized, the oppressor and the oppressed. And this is why on the 7th of October, because our children were dying of hunger, starved to death, a group of youngsters wanted to do something. And that's what happened on the 7th of October. And now it's been more than 1 year. More than 42,000 people have been killed. According to the reputable medical journal, The Lancet, more than 186,000 people have been killed. 78% of whom are children and women. And what has the world done? Nothing. In fact, blaming the victim. We are, still until today, we are being blamed for trying to break the deadly hermetic siege imposed on Gaza. As I speak to you right now, the people of Jabalia in the northern part of Gaza are being butchered. For the last 10 days, more than 400 people have been killed. And when I say people, I'm talking about civilians. I'm talking about children. I'm talking about women. And the world is doing absolutely nothing. Nothing. ICJ, nothing. ICC, nothing. BDS, nothing. So what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? I've witnessed every single massacre committed by apartheid Israel against us in Gaza, against our people in Gaza. And every single time, being part of the BDS movement, being part of Palestinian civil society, we would issue a statement calling on the international community just to impose a military embargo on apartheid Israel. And the conclusion? Nothing. In fact, the United States of America has decided to increase its military support of apartheid Israel. The colonial West is not complicit. It is directly involved in these war crimes and crimes against humanity committed against us in Gaza. So what's the way forward? I don't want to sound pessimistic. I don't want to sound hopeless, because I strongly believe that this is the end, or rather the beginning of the end of the colonial, settler colonial project in Palestine. But the price is too heavy. I'm talking to you right now while my family is staying in a tent. I myself, together with my family, have been displaced 4 times. The first thing that apartheid Israel decided to attack when they attacked Gaza, okay, I'm going to finish now, was the library of my university, or what used to be my university. 11 academic institutions have been destroyed in Gaza. More than 600 schools, including my kids' school, have been destroyed by apartheid Israel. There is no functioning hospital in Gaza right now. So what is to be done? Well, the way forward for us is very clear. Isolating apartheid Israel. No ties with apartheid Israel whatsoever. No ties whatsoever with apartheid Israel. Colombia has done it. Nicaragua has done it. It's time for South Africa to do it. You cannot take South Africa to the ICJ while still having economic ties, supplying apartheid Israel with coal. You cannot do that. Fueling genocide, at the same time taking on apartheid Israel and taking it to the ICJ. Yes, thank you, South Africa, but we want more. We expect more from post-apartheid South Africa. It's time to impose a military embargo on apartheid Israel, and it's time to say goodbye to the racist two-state solution. We are offering an alternative, a secular democratic state from the river to the sea. Thank you so much.